still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. So I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail me. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. So I'm still in your hands. And this is my confidence. You never fail me. Never fail us. There's no space that his love can reach. There's no place where he can't find us. There's no end to amazing grace. Take me in with your arms spread wide. Take me in like an orphan child. Never let go, never leave my side. Zion, holding on to you, Zion.
Hey, good morning. It's so great to have you guys here. I know it's a little pre-service. We love having you guys here. It's awesome. We're glad you're here. We got to figure out who's out here today. So I want you to follow me along here because there's a car that I haven't seen in a long time, and it's a cool car, and it's the only unique car out here. Come on. This is a cool car. Let's find out. We have a Hummer 2 here, and we got a sunroof. Come on, will you stand up and out of the sunroof here? Here we go. We're going to see what we got here. What's your name?
Tenley.
Tenley, awesome. This is so great. I like your car. Are you going to watch service from the car today? Awesome. Man, we're glad to have you here. And we got, this is my other one. This is almost like they kind of have to be close together. But I talked to her earlier. She's had this car 2 years. Is that right? A couple years. You got to like an FJ Cruiser, huh? How about that? Now, there's another car back here. What I love about these off-road cars, we're picking on off-roads. We have, let's see, this is a Range Rover. Have you ever taken it out into the dirt? Have you ever taken it off-road? Nothing? Never? Are you going to? Are you? How old are you? How old are you? 18. All right. This 18-year-old gets the keys to this car next week. You're going to get some dirt on it for this Sunday, right? Come on. I like that, and I'm great. What's your name? Matthew. Man, I'm glad you got the sunroof open. You're ready to go. We're going to have church today, Matthew. Come on. Let's go. All right. Hey, I got one more over here. Bob over here. Come on. You took the doors off your Jeep. What happened to the doors, Bob? 2 years begging you to get them off, and here they are. It's a little windy out, but you're going to have, are you getting this? Has this ever been off-road? I know it looks like it's supposed to. You've never taken it off-road, have you? More off-road than on-road. Are you going there today? Okay, here we go. 18-year-old, over here, 18-year-old. You got to follow this Jeep over here, right here. Come on, this Jeep right here. Come on. You got to follow this Jeep out there. Everyone here thinks that's 18-year-old in the Range Rover needs to follow the Jeep. What do you guys think? We on that? Awesome. How about this off-road vehicle? Here we go. Have you ever taken this off-road? No. No. It's not, you know what you can do with your wife's car? You know where you can take your wife's car? Anywhere. Come on, take it off-road. Get it all dirty. Let's go. This is awesome. Hey, we're glad you guys are here today. We're just having a great time. I hope that you guys have fun here. I think this road could go off-road. Has it ever got any dirt on it? It's got some dirt on it, huh? It went to Yellowstone. Nice. There we go. Hey, we're going to have church today. We want to say welcome. We're glad you're here. And let's hear from the Larry and Stacy Show.
Hey, welcome, Mill Creek. We're glad you're here. Glad you've joined us today on this beautiful day.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it.
We love it out here. Hey, what's going on now at church these days?
So we have a handful of things going on. So actually not here. I'll talk about that in a minute. But back at the Mill Creek campus, we are still running summer day camps for elementary kids, which is entering first grade through fifth grade. We've got this week and 2 more weeks after that. You can still sign up for it. It's $99 for the week and goldcreek.org.
And there's another water camp coming up, is that right?
There is.
So
this week is Treasure Week. They get to go on clues or go hunt for clues, and then next week is Water Week.
So if the kids are bored, get them out there to camp.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely. It's been great. And then here, can I talk about what's going on
Sure.
here for just 1 minute? If you have kids in the car, if they want to stay in the car, that is great. We've got activity packets that will still be handed out to you. But if they want to come do lessons with the rest of us in the back, we are running it. I call it VBS style because we've got stations. We separate the kids into groups, and we really are having a ton of fun. And they might be getting some sweet cold treats at the end of the day. I'm just saying.
Ah, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So with a lot of time at home these days, what have you guys done? Anything? Any improvements?
We have been doing quite a few improvements. But with that, I have a question. If this is, I think I'm on to maybe a husband trick that I've discovered him trying to pull. So we are painting our kitchen cabinets right now. Huge job. And my husband said he would help. I was like, great. He does a lot of things fabulous. He paints horribly. Are there any other husbands out there that paint horribly? None. They all paint fabulous. Okay, thank you, Dave. Thank you. So he is helping me, and I'm doing some other stuff, and I come check, and there's paint all over the floor. So I fired him. I said, no, go do your projects outside, which he has done a ton of projects outside. And he didn't really seem that bummed that I fired him.
So you think he might have done it on purpose?
I'm wondering if that is maybe a trick.
Yeah. So I'm not that way. I'm very meticulous, and I've painted 2 bathrooms and remodeled 2 bathrooms.
Wow,
in
just
this time.
recently.
Yeah, just recently. But yeah, I have to look at it every day, so I make sure I do the very best I can. So
yeah, I'm not that meticulous.
Okay.
But what is your family doing to stay cool? Because we've had some gorgeous hot days.
We did take them out this week to Pilchuck River, and they splashed around in the water. So that was fun, getting away there by the river. It was good.
Nice. We played in the river all the time as kids, but I didn't take my kids for some reason growing up. And so fun fact, and I'm sure that my parents are watching right now, but we would go camping every weekend, and we would actually just make Kool-Aid out of the river water. I didn't know until I was an adult that that's not really a good thing to do.
That is funny. That's good. So I love being out here, and we have the parachutes guys that are coming down all the time. Just a little bit ago, a hot air balloon landed right over there, just outside here. Wouldn't it be cool if we had the parachutes or a hot air balloon land here before we're done with church services?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't that be cool? We're going to see if we can make that happen. That would be awesome.
Well, you said last service, so it's not only a drive-in service, it's now also a float-in service.
Yes,
Very
that's
nice.
awesome. Hey, we have a new GC Music project that's available for you. It's on all the streaming platforms. The music is free. You can add it to your playlist, and Gold Creek can go wherever you are. You can listen to our worship, and it is really, really good stuff.
It's amazing. In fact, when we were painting at home, it was really cool to be able to say, Alexa, play The Blessing by Gold Creek Worship, and then to hear her repeat it back and then play it, and it sounded amazing. It was
So
really
it's
fun.
on Amazon. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So check it out, download those songs, and take them where you go.
That's right.
Hey, I think it's about time for service to start today, so sit back and enjoy.
Have a great Sunday.
It's as if we've wandered the desert, travelers without a home, together yet alone in this uncertainty. An uncommon time, unexpected, undefined, binds us, unites us, does not divide us, but reminds us of who we are. A body, not a building, unrelenting, unyielding, persevering, revealing the faithfulness of God. Maybe this virus has started a fire inside us, ignited us, inspired us to live louder, love harder, care deeper. 6 feet, 6 miles, or a world apart. Our calling remains the same. For we are the body of Christ.
Good morning, everybody. Turn up your stereos. Let's worship together. And I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. Then you came along and put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn praise into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. There's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing, and nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. Lord, there's nothing. Nothing is better than you. You turn praise into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You turn praise into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can.
You know, I mean, we're not a boys' club or a social club. We're just a group of husbands collectively waiting for our wives in the Target parking lot.
I used to get so bored.
Hours and hours of waiting in the car.
I thought it'd be a good idea one time to go in with the wife. Thought I could maybe scout out some camping gear, something like that. Just ended up holding her purse.
Between 2015 and 2018, I actually completed my doctorate online while waiting for my wife.
Then one day, everything changed. I'm sitting in the car, it's been 63 minutes, I'm furious, and then there's this knock on the window.
Hey, got some new jerky. You want to try some?
Charlie's Beef Jerky. Yeah, that was honestly the start of our friendship.
You know, it didn't happen all at once.
Honestly, I don't remember how it started.
Penn came along, and then this Miles guy started parking closer to us, and then eventually, like, the group was just formed.
What do we do here? Well, we toss the ball around, we play some cards, you know, a little gambling. We have supper if it gets late enough. For a while, the kids were real damper on the group, you know, but then we got a 2-car system going where each guy takes a 15-minute shift watching the kids while the others just get to chill, hang out.
Eventually, we decided just to put a security camera in the daycare van so we can keep an eye on the kids, but also keep a full poker table.
Oh, God!
This will pay for my wife's Target run.
Hey, so we got eyes on the kids?
Oh, they're fine.
I clip coupons for her now so we can head to Target and I can hang out with the guys and she can do her thing, whatever she does in there.
Taylor, we gotta go. We gotta go.
Oh, come on, babe, 5 more minutes?
No, we gotta go right now.
Just
We gotta
5
go.
more minutes.
You guys have been in here all day.
Damn, see the sale on the curtains?
Saw it.
They're really nice.
They're
Yep,
real cute.
saw it. Gotta go.
I know it sounds crazy, but I look forward to those throw pillows going on sale now. Get to see my boys.
And I just hope it doesn't end with us.
I would love to see target husband groups just formed all over the world.
There's no reason for any husband to have to endure a red tag sale alone.
If you see another guy waiting for his wife, just offer him some beef jerky. Let him know you're down to hang.
Your best friend may be just 2 cars away.
Hey, what do you think? Totally. Good morning, everybody. I'm Jessie, and if you think you could do that, I need you. We're looking for facilitators right now for all types of groups, for men's groups, women's groups, couples, or families. We've got topic ideas for you, curriculum, and tips to help you be successful. We recognize that everybody right now has a different comfort level, so I'd like to find some people to lead some small in-person groups and also some online groups. You can join us on Monday, August 17th at 7 p.m. for a short informational Zoom meeting. You can email myself at jesi@goldcreek.org to sign up for that. And also, if it's your first time here, welcome. We're so glad you're here. If you would text that number on your screen to just let us know you're here, and it will also allow us to send you some more information about some things coming up here at Gold Creek. Thanks, everybody.
Well, good morning. I'm Pastor Alex.
I'm Pastor Larry. It's good to see you all today. Hey, today is every morning at church we take an offering, and this is the time that we give back to the Lord from what He's blessed us. First of all, I want to thank you for your faithfulness. God has continued to provide for us throughout this time, and we ask that everybody do their part. That's what this is all about. It's about all of us bringing our resources together, and that's what keeps this whole thing going. The screen and our drive-in services and our services online, all of that is because of your faithfulness. So thank you. We pray that you'll just keep on supporting, keep on giving, that God might be glorified in all that we do.
I'm a sheriff's chaplain. I think many of you know that Pastor Dan and Brian and Kyler and I, we're volunteer chaplains with the Sheriff's Department. And as you give today, we've got our ushers are going to go through, and they've got something we want to give to you. It's called a challenge coin. This is something that we have the privilege to carry with us. And while many of us might not know what a challenge coin is, if you're a law enforcement officer, you know exactly what it is. I was just talking to one of our ushers who is a law enforcement officer, and he said, challenge coins like candy. It gets our attention. And what we've been doing as chaplains, as we've been going out and we've been coming alongside our officers, these men and women are the ones that serve and protect us. They put their lives on the line each and every day. The integrity that they have to go out there for us, for our community, is more than words can say. And what we are doing is we're going alongside and say, hey, I have a challenge coin for you. And oftentimes when you say that, they will reach in their pocket and want to trade you because they usually carry a challenge coin with them as well. And this one on one side has our Gold Creek emblem on it. On the other side, it says, we are praying for you. And so we want to give this to you, our church community, to give to our officers out there as you see them in a restaurant, maybe you know them in your neighborhood. And you can give them this challenge coin, and they will gladly accept it, especially when you say, I have a challenge coin. They know what it is. So as our ushers go through, they are going to hold it out, and they're going to hand it up. And we want to give, if you want one, you just put your hand out in the window and say, hey, I want one of those challenge coins. I want to support our officers as well.
What I've noticed over the last few weeks is as I've taken the time to talk to officers, officers need to talk right now. They need encouragement. This is a great way to do that. I carry some of these coins in my car, and so I encourage you to take those right now. Hey, there's different ways to give. We're going to come by with buckets. We've got the coins in the buckets. They're also going to be collecting the offering. But we also know that most of you give online. So right now, the easiest way to give is to text GC Mill Creek to 77977. That's the easiest way to give. Let's ask God to bless our offering and our time together. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful weather we have here to worship you. And Lord, thank you for all that you've done for us. Thank you for the resources that have come in. Lord, I pray for everybody here that you'll bless them, bless their giving, bless their offering, that it might just continue your great work. Lord, thank you for this great church. Thank you for this great congregation. Thank you for the opportunity, Lord, to worship you in this beauty. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's welcome Sarah to the stage.
Hi, guys. Good morning. How's everybody?
I'm Pastor Sarah. I'm the little kids pastor at the Mill Creek campus. So I'm going to take a minute and talk to you about these kids' bags. So inside, you're going to find some dominoes. So that was one of my favorite games as a kid. More specifically, I love Mexican train dominoes. But how many of you out there, honk your horn, if you took dominoes and put them in a line and then tried to knock them all over? Yeah. My brothers and I did that a lot. We loved doing that. So you see the cascade or the domino effect. So we see in our story today, we're following Jonah, and we see God ask him to go to Nineveh and to give the people a message that God is displeased with them. And Jonah is scared and he doesn't want to do it. So he gets on a boat and goes in the opposite direction. And this boat in this story, it goes through a storm because God is displeased with Jonah for not listening. So all the people on this boat are now affected by Jonah's decision, and we see Jonah fess up to it, but we also see that his bad decision led to this domino effect where everyone else was affected. So today we talk about our choices, how good or bad can affect others, just like our dominoes. So if you haven't had a chance to watch the kids' lesson yet, go on to YouTube and check it out. And also, we still want some pictures of your kids with fish on our Gold Creek Kids Facebook page. So we're going to do another worship song now. Bye, guys.
Jonah, why did you try to run away? Did you think you could hide? How come you took off in the opposite direction? Why didn't you want to get up and go? Don't you know that you can't escape me, even in the depths of the sea? What took you so long to pray? Did you forget that I'm the only one who can save you? Don't you believe I'm the God of second chances? Jonah, is it right for you to be angry? Shouldn't I feel sorry for such a great city?
Good morning. Man, I'm glad you're here. We start a brand new series. I'm so excited about this series. It's a series about big fish. It's a big fish story that we're going to learn together. We're going to learn about ourselves. We're going to learn about God. We're going to learn who He is, who we are. And this big fish story is going to be incredible. So let me just say welcome to those that are watching online. If you're in the crowd here today, would you just honk and welcome those that are online? Just say, and we're glad you're here. You can hear us out here. We're glad you're here. And if you're watching online, or even if you're in the parking lot here today, I know there's three types of people. Number one, you're regular people. Some of you say, Gold Creek's my church. It's always going to be my church. Always going to be my church. I love my church. And some of you are brand new members. This is your place. You started. I've been talking to people that have started. They've never been to our church building. They've only been to the online drive-in service here. In fact, I wonder, is there anybody in the crowd right now that has only been to our drive-in service? Would you honk your horn if you've only been? Listen to that. That's kind of cool. Only been to the drive-in service, and they're new. This is your place. You've said, hey, this is my place. I want to say welcome. We say welcome. You're part of us. We love having you here. It's great to have you here. And there's another group out here that are investigators. Some of you are watching online, and some of you are absolutely just thinking about your faith. And if you're thinking about your faith, you've wondered about your faith, maybe this COVID thing has bothered you, maybe it's the racial injustice, maybe it doesn't matter why you're here. It doesn't matter why you're investigating. I just welcome you. I say this is a great place for you to investigate your faith, to think about God. And today, this Big Fish series, is going to be a great way to learn about God. It's also a great way to learn about yourself. So before I get into the message today, I have two things to talk about. Number one, vote. If you are a part and you're registered and you're a part, this week is an election part, and you need to speak your mind. I love our church. We have liberals and conservatives. We have Republicans and Democrats. We have libertarians. We have call it whatever you want to call yourself. We know that you're out there, and we know, and we talk to each other. You have people that have varying degrees of beliefs, but here's my point to you. It doesn't matter who you are. Speak your mind. That's the freedom that we have to vote. This week, by the Tuesday, August 4th, you need to put in your ballot. I encourage you to do that. Everybody. Awesome. So, now for the fun. I'm going to give away a rod. Some of you actually listen to me. You know how you can tell a good leader? It's whether they actually follow you. And so some of you actually followed me. There's about 20 pictures that got posted and tagged Gold Creek. Now, one of these pictures is going to win. So let's show you these pictures. Now, let me just, before I really get into these pictures, we're going to start with Pastor Larry and I. There's my big fish. There's Pastor Larry's big fish. He wins so far. Our staff, we're having our own contest, just to let you know. Our own contest, and so far, Peter's ahead. I don't know where Peter is, but he went out fishing last week, caught a great big king salmon. And thanks to Mike for taking him out. He caught a big king salmon. So it's really cool. But if you have a fishing picture, if you post it and tag it to Gold Creek, you tag Gold Creek on our Gold Creek page, you get entered into a free giveaway every Sunday during this month. We're giving away our fishing rod. Now, come look at this fishing rod right here. This is a big fish fishing rod. It has a little line counter on there and everything. This is a salmon rod. This is something that'll take out Peter's fish. It's going to be bigger than Peter's fish. So I'm going to give this away to someone today, and this is randomly selected. Not somebody who texted me a picture. Not somebody who personal messaged me a picture. I had over 40 pictures personal messaged to me. That is not how we do it. I am not going to post your pictures for you. You have to do it yourself. So here are the people that have done it. Here we go. Let's see these pictures. Here's the first one. Take a look at these guys. Look at those pictures. Here we go. Here's the second group. Here we go. Let's see. Now that is a load. Take a look at that boat full of fish. I think he said 1,400 pounds. That's pretty cool. Look at that sturgeon there. Isn't that cool? All right, let's see the next one here. The next one, I love this. The little guy has his eyes closed, and the fish also has his eyes closed. But you got to love this picture. Look at that sweet smile and that big, big bass. Love it. Here we go. All right, the next one. Here we go. We got a couple of salmon, a little bit of trout. I like that. Okay, the next one. Here we go. I don't know what kind of ugly fish that is. Does anyone know what kind of fish? I know that person wants to win. I can hear him beep there, right there. There's some ugly fish right there for you. All right, now next picture, here we go. Look at this. We got a little trout here, and we got a great big, I guess, what is that? What is that? Anyone know? Somebody. It's a big fish. Halibut. That's a big halibut. So, the next picture, it shows a couple more salmon, and then one more picture here. This is a king salmon. We got a great big sunny there. Another picture here. We got a pike and a bonefish. I like that. I think that's a bonefish. Pretty cool fish. And the last one, I think it's the last one. Here it is. The winner is Cruz Webster. If you're in this place right now, Cruz Webster, are you out here, Cruz? If you're out here, you got to come get this rod. I'm going to set it right down here. You can come get it anytime you want to. Otherwise, we'll look you up and get that to you. We'll have to send it to you, whatever. Anyway, we're giving away one every week. I hope you win. That'd be great. We'd love to have you. Also, in the kids area, we're giving it away. Just having fun. Because every one of those pictures has a story. If you talk to those people, you'll get worn out with their stories. They have a story that goes with every picture. And this big fish picture that we have today in the book of Jonah is a story worth learning. It's a story worth learning about. So, the title of the message today is called, What Are You Running From? What are you running from? And then along the way, I'm going to share a few fish stories. I know that'll surprise you, but I'm going to share a few fish stories. A few years ago, I actually went north of the Arctic Circle, and I went out with a group of guys, and I decided one morning that I was going to go fishing. I took my fly rod out, and I saw this river, and I wanted to teach the guys that were with me how to fish for grayling. Grayling, you'll take a fly, just really cool. I had my fly rod. I was going down to the river, and there was 4 other guys that were with me, and they all had rifles. They didn't have fly rods, they had rifles. I guess they were going to shoot their fish. But I was headed down to the river, and I remember going down to the river, and on the way down to the river, the brush got higher and higher and higher, and I was thinking, man, there might be a bear around here, but I was not really worried because they all had the rifles, so I was on my way, and as I got closer to the river, you know what I saw? A great big bear, great big grizzly bear, and an Arctic grizzly bear, which are a bit more aggressive than some of the other grizzly bears. And this grizzly bear was running. At first I thought it was running away from us, and then I realized, no, it's running at us. And it's getting closer and closer. And I remember saying, let's yell, and we yelled, and nothing happened. And then I said, let's all get together and make ourselves look as big as we can. It'll scare the bear away. Don't run. The worst thing you can do is run when you're running from a bear. So just get together. And I held my fly rod up, and I stood there, and I expected those guys to be right behind me. And I stood there and said, let's make ourselves look as big as we can. I turned around, and all of those guys were running. They were all running. So you know what I did? I ran with them. And we found our way back up the hill, and I finally convinced him to stand still, and we stood still, and the bear decided to go eat somebody else. Well, the story today is about running. It's about a guy that was running from something he was afraid of. Because in one word, when you think about why you run, it's because of one word, it's fear. So I want you to think about your own fear in your own life. Now, I'll introduce this story by telling you that the story is about Jonah. Jonah's considered a minor prophet. When you read the Bible, there's major prophets and minor prophets. Toward the end of the Old Testament are all the minor prophets. Minor prophets aren't that important. They're just not that big. And in the day of Jonah, there were 3 prophets. There were 2 of them that were fairly major, and Jonah was a minor prophet. He was kind of a sub-prophet. He was kind of a marginal prophet. And there were 3 of them, and they all took turns hearing from God and passing a word to God. The way it used to work in the Old Testament, instead of God speaking to everybody, he spoke only to a few people. And when he would speak to these few people, what he would do was he would give them a message, and they would go take his message to the people. Now today, we know what happens. He talks to all of us in our hearts, in our minds, and we are able to hear from God. We don't have to have a prophet, although prophecy just means a word from God. That's what I do every Sunday. That's what we do when we have a message. But prophecy is just a word from God. We don't have to have a Jonah in our life to hear from God. But Jonah was very important that day. He was one of 3 men that were chosen by God to give a message. Now, let me tell you the other cool thing about Jonah. He was the most popular of the 3 guys. He may have been a minor prophet, but everybody loved Jonah. I would call him the Joel Osteen of prophets. That's right. He was a Joel Osteen of prophets. And the reason he was a Joel Osteen of prophets is he was really, really popular. Because he had taken a message given to him by God that said, if you do this, God will give you prosperity. And all those people had done just exactly what Jonah said, and they were incredibly prosperous. So Jonah was known as the guy who predicted prosperity. And he loved that. He loved being popular. Everywhere he went, it was Jonah. Oh, there's Jonah. He's the guy that talks about prosperity. And Jonah was a man of God. He really did hear from God. But he had one big problem in his heart. You know what his problem in his heart? He hated Gentiles. He loved Jewish people, but he hated Gentiles. He was a racist. He was somebody that didn't like anybody. And God had given him a special message to go to the city of Nineveh, which is this great big huge city where all the Gentiles hung out. And in this city, he was to share a message that would hopefully help them repent. Now, if you wonder where that city is today, it's in Mosul, Iraq. You can go visit the city of Nineveh today in Mosul, Iraq. Now, there were 2 reasons why the city of Nineveh was ripe for a message from God. They had just had 2 huge plagues. It'd be like 2 coronaviruses back to back. And then on top of that, there was an eclipse, and they believed that there was always going to be a message from God after an eclipse. So God took that moment to say to Jonah, you need to go because this is a moment that they're going to be open to a message from God. And that's where we pick up the story in Jonah chapter 1. You can follow along. It's on the screen. The Lord gave this message to Jonah, son of Amittai. Get up, go to the great city of Nineveh, announce my judgment against it, because I've seen how wicked its people are. Now again, if you're wondering who wrote the story of Jonah, it was Jonah. He wrote the story about himself. He knows his story really well. Each week in this series, we're going to read a chapter of the book of Jonah. There's only 4 chapters in the book of Jonah. By the end of this series, you'll have read a book of the Bible. If you've never read a book of the Bible, by the end of the series, you will have. And so we're reading chapter 1 here today. You ask yourself the question, why Jonah? He's not that important. It doesn't really matter. You see, God is always sending messages. I think about that. When you think about God's message to you, you say, why, God, did you choose me? Why me? I'm just a minor. I'm just a nobody. But here's the point I want to say. We're just like Jonah. We're minor prophets. We have the ability to hear from God. And God's speaking to us all the time. when he speaks to us, we need to listen. You know what he's saying? I have a plan for you. I have a purpose for you. I have a job for you. You need to follow me. I have a message that only you can deliver, and I've got that right now for you. And that's what he was saying to Jonah, and that's what he says to us. The verse 3 goes on. But Jonah got up and went in the opposite direction to get away from the Lord. Look at those words, to get away from the Lord. Have you ever tried to run from God? Jonah was running from God. He went down to the port of Joppa, where he found a ship leaving for Tarshish. Now, you can go to the port of Joppa right now. Anybody that wants to. In fact, the next time we go to a trip for Israel, I really encourage you to go with us. You can go to Joppa. It's a city called Tel Aviv. You'll see a big whale there. You can go visit the whale where there's a little port where there's little ships that are the exact same port that Jonah went to get a ticket to get away and go out into the Mediterranean as far away from Nineveh as he could. You see, Nineveh is in Iraq. It's inland. It's kind of like he's standing in Everett, should be going to Spokane. Instead, he's getting on a boat and going out into the ocean. He's going the opposite direction that God wanted him to go. And you know why? I think he thought that if he got on a ship and he got out into the water and he got as far away from Nineveh as he could, that God would choose one of the other two prophets. He did not want to be the prophet that would go to the Gentiles. Well, the story goes on. He bought a ticket. He went on board, hoping to escape from the Lord by sailing to Tarshish. Now, it's interesting. He bought a one-way ticket, and he thought he would only go one way. He didn't think he'd ever come back. He just figured he'd get out of there, get as far away from God as he could. But here's what he didn't know. God had already purchased a ticket back, and it was going to be a lot more painful than the ticket on the way out. So let me stop here for a minute. If you're running from God, you're listening to me today whether you're sitting in front of a television or a computer or listening on the radio in your car right now or listening out in your chair. It doesn't matter. If you've been running from God, you've heard his voice, and you've been going the opposite direction that God's told you to go, and you know that's what it is, then stop right here. Turn around and go back. It's not worth it. It's way more painful to come back God's way. So let me ask you the question. What are we running from? What are we running from? I was thinking about the different things that we run from when we hear from God. I think God sometimes comes behind us and we hear his voice and he says to us, speak up. You're the only person in your office that is a Christian. You're the only one that's a follower of Jesus Christ. There's a moment where you have to share your faith. They will not know the good news unless you share it. Speak up. And you just want to run the other way. You want to go find an office that's full of Christians so you don't have to talk with non-Christians. And you want to run the opposite direction. And God's coming around behind you and saying, speak up, share your faith. There's some of you that he's saying to you, he's in your ear and he's talking to you right now and he's saying, step up. You need to be a better spouse. You need to be a better friend. You need to be a better worker. You need to step up because they're looking at you and you represent me and I need you to step up. It takes work to be in a marriage. It takes work to be a friend. It takes work to do the right kind of things that are in our workplace. Step up. For some of you, it's parent up. That couldn't be more clear than this week when we found out. I know a lot of you are really excited about this. School is at home this year. You found that out, right? It's all online. And some of you, it's just like the news was so difficult for you to take. And not only for you, but for teachers. I think of teachers who are trying to learn to teach in a different way. And then parents who are trying to figure out how to cover this. And you say, what in the world? And God's talking to you in your ears. And he's saying, don't worry. Parent up. Figure this out. There's got to be a way that there's a reason that God's going to use you through this season and this time to teach your kids in a way that you never dreamed you could teach them, to influence them, to impact them. And so somehow, some way, parent up. There's others of you He's saying, cheer up. You've been worrying about everything in your life, and you're so weighed down with worry, and there's a word behind you that says the world is worried about coronavirus. The world is worried about economy and about everything else, but you don't have to. I've got your back. Would you please just cheer up? Quit worrying. The world's watching whether you as a Christian are different than the world. Some of you, it's pony up. During these difficult times, there's people that God blesses more than ever before, and He waits for you and your generosity to make a huge difference in ways that you never dreamed you could, to connect your work to the work of God. And He's saying to you quietly behind the scenes, this is your moment. Step up. Be generous. You know what? We all have a mission from God, and we all have a tendency to just run from God and run from His Word. What are we running from? Jonah was running from God. Verses 4 and 5. The Lord hurled a powerful wind over the sea, causing a violent storm that threatened to break the ship apart. Fearing for their lives, the desperate sailors shouted to their gods for help and threw the cargo overboard to lighten the ship. It's interesting, isn't it? This fish story starts with a storm. And maybe your fish story starts with a storm in your life. Maybe your running from God starts with a storm. This is a storm like none other. Verse 6 goes on and says, but all this time, Jonah was sound asleep down in the hold. So the captain went down after him. And he asked Jonah this question: how can you sleep at a time like this? He's sleeping in the bottom of the boat. Why? The storm is going on. Isn't he afraid of his life? How can you sleep in a storm like this? I'll tell you how you can sleep, because he doesn't care whether he lives or dies. He just wants to run from God. He's running from God, and he's hiding from God, and he doesn't want anyone to find him. Have you met someone like that? I have someone that's really close to me who's been running for God for years. As a teenager, she started to run from God by running to drugs and following her friends around and doing all kinds of things that created all kinds of havoc. And then as she progressed through her life, she began to fill her life with men, and through 3 marriages and having 4 kids from 4 different dads, and she finds herself completely depressed because nobody really loves her. And all the time she's doing this, knowing that she's running from God. And it so saddens my heart. And I think today, I wonder if you're running from God. I'm wondering if you're like her. Well, Jonah, the story of Jonah goes on. It says, get up, pray to your God, the captain said to Jonah. Maybe he will pay attention to us and spare our lives. Then the crew cast lots to see which one of them had offended the gods and caused this terrible storm. Now, this is kind of interesting. You kind of learn a little bit about what the sailors believed about God. You also are going to learn a little bit about what Jonah believes about God. And I ask you the question, what is it that you believe about God? When you run from Him, do you really think you can run from Him? When they did this, verse 7b goes on, when they did this, the lost identified Jonah as the culprit. Do you think this is a lucky guess, or do you think it's God? At this moment, Jonah knew this was his fault. Jonah knew this was his fault. So let's think about that for a minute. You know, the beginning of change always starts when you admit this is your fault. My wife likes to bass fish, and we love to go out bass fishing. We have such a good time. And a couple of years ago, my son knew that my wife liked to bass fish. He bought her a new fishing rod, a new kind of bait casting reel. It was cool, and he wanted to take her out fishing. It was after Mother's Day, and we didn't get to celebrate Mother's Day because we're always with you on Mother's Day. And so we went out fishing, and he took us out. And I remember being out there sunshiny day, and we were catching smallmouth bass on the Columbia River. And one time we turned around and we watched her casting her new rod. And she just took her arm back and she cast. And just as she went out there and let go of the line, she also let go of the rod. And just like for some reason, she just opened her hand and the rod just kept going. And it hit the water and it started to sink. And I looked at Daniel and my son and I said, why don't you jump in after it? The water was really, really cold. And he said, Dad, why don't you jump in after it? So neither of us jumped in after it. And we watched the rod sink and go away, and we turned around and we thought we knew what was going to happen next. We knew that at some point, for some reason or another, it was going to be one of our fault that that rod went into the water. Something we did in that moment. And we looked at each other and just waited for her response to find out how we had done something wrong. And she turned around and here's what she said. I let go of my rod. And then she said, I don't even know why I let go of my rod. I just let go of my, it's gone. I lost the rod you gave me. And both of us said, no big deal. We can get you another rod. You know, the beginning of change in every relationship, the beginning of change in anybody is owning your own stuff. It's confession. No excuses. It's my fault. Right? That's good. Okay, so I want you to practice that in your car right now. I know you guys, a lot of you are in your car with somebody. I just want you to turn to the person in your car, or if you're watching online, just turn to somebody near you and say, it's my fault. It's no excuses, just it was my fault. Ready? Practice. Go. Now, I don't know how hard that was. But I know this, that confession is good for the soul. No excuses, no pointing fingers. But for Jonah, this wasn't the beginning of change yet. We can see in verse 8, the story goes on. Why has this awful storm come down on us, they had demanded. Who are you? What is your line of work? What country are you from? What is your nationality? Isn't this a great question? Ask yourself the question, who am I? Who am I? If someone asks you the question, who are you? You know, Barna did a recent study that said during this coronavirus time and during this shut-in time, 1/4 of all Christians have just abandoned their faith. It makes you ask the question, I wonder if they really were a Christian. Who are you? Are you a Christian? Are you ashamed of your values? Are you ashamed to say I'm a follower of Jesus Christ? Well, Jonah answered the question. I'm a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the land. Good answer, Jonah. The sailors were terrified when they heard this, for he had already told them he was running away from the Lord. And they asked this question, why did you do it? Why did you do it? This is such a good start for Jonah. But the question is really powerful. Why did you do it? Why do we run? Why do we run? One word. I've told it to you early. One word, it's fear. What are we afraid of? We're afraid that God's going to make something that we think we have to have fun. It's not going to be any fun to follow God. It's going to be too hard. It's going to be too big. I'm going to be too religious. I'm going to get too rejected. And you just fill in the blank. We all have our fears. When we hear the voice of God in our lives, we don't follow Him because we're afraid. Why did you do it? You know, a few years ago, we used to go every year to visit Audrey's mom. And when we go on vacation, it was a chance for Audrey to visit her mom, and it was a chance for me to fish. And I love fishing, and the lakes in Minnesota are amazing, great northern fishing, all kinds of great times. We always have fun in Minnesota. And I remember when I go on vacation, and this happens so often for me, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to be a pastor. I don't want to deal with anything. I don't want anyone to recognize me. I just need a break. I need just to be me. And I remember I went there, and I actually think it was my niece who had brought a friend They were up visiting us while we were at this lake, and my niece had brought a friend, and she looked at me and she says, I want you to talk to my friend about God. I brought her up here because I know you're a pastor and I know you can talk to my friend about God. She needs God. And I looked at her and I said, I'm on vacation, man. I don't talk to people about God on my vacation. I don't want to be a pastor. So I didn't want to talk to her. But she got in my boat anyway. So for the next 2 hours, I talked to her about God. And what I discovered in that 2-hour period of time is that this young woman was just a woman who believed in God, that was running from God. She heard from God, and over 2 hours, we discovered that she was ready to quit running from God. And I'm here to tell you today, there's some of you that are ready to quit running from God. And the best decision you can make in your life is to not run from God. When you ask the question, why did you do it? You have to say, why? What am I afraid of? What do I think that God's going to do? Because it isn't right. Well, the story goes on. Verse 11. Since the storm was getting worse all this time, they asked Jonah, the sailors asked Jonah, what should we do to stop this storm? Listen to his answer. Throw me into the sea, Jonah said, and it will all become calm again. Now, this is interesting to me because the right answer would be turn the boat around, take me back to Joppa, and I'll go do what God has told me to do. But Jonah was so intent on running from God that he was willing to die instead of obeying God. It's true that it would stop the storm for him to be thrown overboard, but it's also true that if he just turned the boat around, the storm would have stopped. Well, the story goes on. I know that this terrible storm is all my fault. Instead, here's what the sailors did. They rowed even harder to get the ship to land, but the stormy sea was too violent for them, and they couldn't make it. This is interesting. Jonah was sent to a place called Nineveh because it was full of Gentiles that he hated. He was unwilling to go there. But he got onto a ship full of Gentiles he was willing to let them take him away from the mission that he had to go reach Gentiles. He was committed that he was never going to reach Gentiles because he did not like Gentiles. Here's what's interesting. These Gentiles on the ship were more committed to saving his life than he was to saving their life. He wouldn't do the same for them, what they would do for him. Finally, verse 14, they cried out to the Lord, Jonah's God. "O Lord," they pleaded, "don't make us die for this man's sin. Don't hold us responsible for his death." What a prayer. Listen to this prayer. They acknowledged God, Jonah's God. They admitted his sins and their sins. And they asked forgiveness even before what they knew they were going to do by throwing him overboard. And he goes on and he says, "Oh Lord, you have sent this storm upon him for your own good reason." And then the sailors picked up Jonah and they threw him into the raging sea, and the storm stopped at once. So here's the question that I have for you. What needs to go overboard in your life to calm your storm? I was sitting at a lunch table the other day, and a lady walked up to me, and I love what she said. She said, "Tell your friends what you did for my son. You saved my son's life." And I remember turning to my friends and saying, "No, I didn't save her son's life, but I'll tell you what happened. Her son was a heroin addict. And there was a moment in his life when he hit bottom, and he came to me and he says, I want to change. And he committed his life to God, and we came alongside him, and he went and he got clean, and he quit running from God, and he started running to God, and God changed his life so dramatically that she is still thanking God for the absolute change in his life. It's so cool, so neat. You know what I'm convinced today? Just like that young man, when he finally turned his life around, it doesn't matter what you're running it from. There's a rebellious part in all of us that needs to go overboard. What are you running from? What are you running from? Jonah 1:16 says this, the sailors were awestruck by the Lord's great power. They offered him a sacrifice and vowed to serve him. Now I want you to think about this. Jonah was sent to save the Gentiles in Nineveh. And he wouldn't go. He said, I'll never do that. Be careful what you say you'll never do to God. Because the very next thing that happened is God used Jonah to save some Gentiles on a boat when they threw him overboard. Poor Jonah, he couldn't get away from the mission that God had for him. You see, God even uses my rebellion. It's time to go overboard. I want to remind you today, the ticket back is going to be more painful if you just don't choose to turn around. So today, make a choice to turn around. Would you bow your heads just for a minute? I think God's talking to all of us. We're all just minor prophets. We're nobody. But God has His voice in the back of our head, and He's telling you something today. And I don't know what it is, but for some of you, I believe it's to speak up. Don't be afraid to be a Christian. Don't be afraid to be a follower of Jesus. Don't be afraid of your values. Don't be afraid of what others think of you. Speak up. He's talking to others of you. Step up. Be the spouse, the friend, the worker that God's called you to be. There's some of you, He's just saying, parent up. You're in this season. It's okay. God's going to use it. He's going to do things He wouldn't do any other way. Parent up. For some of you, He's saying, cheer up. For some of you, He's saying, pony up. But I know there's a voice in the back of your head. You know what it is. Don't run from it. And there's a part of you that's rebellious, that's headed in the wrong direction. Throw it overboard. Lord Jesus, help us to do that right now. In Jesus' name, amen. Let me talk to you right now. I have a simple way for you to respond. The image is so powerful. When Jonah went overboard, it changed his life. And we'll talk more about that next week. It's the big fish story. But when you go overboard, it'll change your life too. And the best way to express that is through baptism. Next Sunday is so cool. We had some people that couldn't wait to get baptized, and we don't know whether we'll do these outdoor drive-in services forever. We don't know how long we'll be able to do them, but we know this, that we got to do another baptism outdoors. And if you've thought about that today, and you've made a decision, and the rebellious part of you needs to go overboard, next Sunday is the chance for you to step up and to step into the place and to have water poured all over you for you to go all in. So I want you to text. On the screen's a number. Just text the word baptism. And we want to make preparations for you being baptized this coming Sunday. I talked to someone yesterday who said, my boy's ready to be baptized. Would you do it in the river? And I'm hoping this week we get the chance to do it in the river. I said, let's go get the coldest river we can, and I'll show the video on Sunday. So I'm going to look for the one that comes right out of the ice, because if he wants to get baptized in the river, I want it to be memorable. And I just think for you, here's my point. This is your day to quit running from God, to go all in. To help you think about that, I want to conclude with this simple little video. Here's what this video is from. Every week we prepare a sermon. We preach the sermon ahead of time for the on-demand and for the 9 o'clock and for the other services. And so at the end of the video, which we filmed at the Everett Marina, this is what happened. Take a look.
But this day is a decision you make in your own heart. Whatever rebellion in your life, whatever thing you're running from God is, today it needs to go overboard. And you're going to watch me go overboard. And my willingness to go overboard, are you willing to go overboard?
I hope that picture will be a picture that we celebrate next Sunday in baptisms. I can't wait for the continuation of the Big Fish story. Now, as we conclude today, I know some of you on this side of the cones are going to go and get your kids. You're going to be a part of that. Others of you have to kind of wait for a while. So I put up on the screen some questions for you to talk about in your car. I thought maybe you'd really enjoy this. So here's a whole list of questions for you to kind of discuss and think about the message of the day. Again, thanks for coming, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for joining us today and for watching this service online with us. And it's really the only way you can watch it. We do have our drive-in services that are going on, but so many of us still watch this online. Here's the thing I want to ask you. Did this message, did it talk to you a little bit? Was there something in it that just kind of stirred you a little bit, that it made you excited? And I know for me it did. And so here's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to go ahead and share it with a few people. Because the crazy part that's been happening is I've been getting messages from people and friends who said, hey, I happened to see the message at church the other day. Wow, that spoke to me. It's allowed us to have a conversation that I didn't even know they were watching our Gold Creek Church. They don't go to Gold Creek, but yet they tuned in and watched it. In the midst of what we got going on, in the midst of all this stuff, we still can be a light to the world. That's what Jesus has called us to be. And right now, we get to use social media, we get to use YouTube to be that light to the world. So go ahead, hit the like button. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button. Hit the share button. And maybe you're watching on your TV like I do at home, so you're going to have to do a little extra work. You have to pull out the old phone or the computer and hit the share and hit the button to send it to a text message or an email to somebody or tag them in it, however it may be, however you're watching it. We just want to thank you for being a part of Gold Creek, whether it's your first time that you're here or maybe this is somewhere where you come every Sunday. But be sure to join us back again next week.